Hey, and welcome to the Nostalgia Train Book Club. Today we're discussing Animorphs, Book 1, The Invasion by K.A Applegate. I'm the, what's it called again? Conductor? The conductor of this train. I have a co-conductor who's Grape, which maybe I should put Grape up here. And two other lovely co-hosts, Mars and Sam.
Just remember I'm muted. Sorry.
Oh.
I was saying, you can leave me where I was.
No, you have to be there. Sorry. As always, I like to start each live show with us saying our experience with the book. Also, feel free to promote yourself, channels, anything you got going on. As we know, I don't have anything going on, which isn't true. I'm going to be on Mars's channel for Chaos Queens on Tuesday. My experience with Animorphs is I feel like I've always known about this series, and I feel like I've gaslit myself into thinking that I read these books. Just because I'm pretty sure my brothers had like a good handful of them on our shelves. And like I just would stare at the covers for hours, like those transitions. Like I thought they were so cool. But I don't think that I actually ever read them. Maybe like my brothers told me about what happened in the books. Maybe I saw like snippets of the TV show, because I know there's a TV series. But that's it. I think this was my real first time ever reading one of the books.
I was obsessed with Animorphs as a kid in like elementary school. But I don't think I've ever read the first one. This is my first time reading the first one. I think I might have jumped in like mid-series. Because I was like, I don't remember reading any of this.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I am Grape of Fry. I've got nothing going on. Nothing to promo.
Mars, do you want to go? You want me to go?
It doesn't matter. You can go first.
Okay. I'm Samantha L. I am writing mom, Samantha L. Nassett. I talk about writer things, parent things, writer-parent things on my channel. And this is the first time I've ever read any of the Animorphs books. I thought I knew more about Animorphs than I did. Like, as I was reading it, just... There's so many things I discovered. But also, because of the TV show, did not expect the children to be so young. So
yeah,
that was...
Didn't know there was a show. That's news to me.
I don't think I ever watched the show, but I caught like snippets of it here and there. So definitely thought they were high schoolers. But I finally started drafting my novel, and that's what's going on with me right now.
Oh, yay.
I am Mars. My channel is Somber Honey Books, where I make content about reading, writing, and other shenanigans. I am also 1/4 of the Chaos Queens, along with Violet and our friends Marta and Crystal, and we're coming back this upcoming Tuesday after a long hiatus. We're gonna be streaming again on my channel, so be sure to come by then. And as for the book, this was my first time reading the Animorphs. I never touched any of the series. My only knowledge of it comes from what I've seen on Tumblr, and I was pleasantly surprised and kind of wished that I had read it when I was younger, because I think I would have eaten it up.
You would have been an Animorphs kid.
I would have.
Speaking of Animorphs kids, let's say hi to our friends in chat. I know our friend Anna Robbins is a self-admitted Animorphs kid. Hi, Anna. Michael is here. Hello. Kelly from the Channeling Studies here. Chris is here saying, I remember the bottom corners had pictures. Yes, that's true. Undergoing morphs when you flipped through quickly. Yes, that's what I did with those. I knew.
Like, I've never actually read them. I just flipped through.
Yes. Now that just brought back a memory. Unlocked something. Also started mid-series. The show had a young 19-ish Sean Ashmore who plays Bobby Drake in the X-Men series as Jake. Ah, the bottom corners. Yeah, that was definitely a memory unlocked moment. Let's get our spoilers banner up. We're going to try not to spoil the rest of the series, which, I mean, if it happens, it happens. We just try our best here.
Yeah, because some people read the fan wiki.
Yeah, some people spoiled.
Stop
I don't know where to start. Usually I start with plot and pacing, but we could also start with sci-fi trope. What are we leaning towards, guys?
Thoughts and pacing? Question mark.
Why do I keep saying plots? There's only one plot. Well, I guess there's subplots. Is there subplots in this book? Kind of. Yeah, I mean, this was a very fast-paced book. I feel like we just jumped right into it.
Mm-hmm.
I wish there was more.
Yeah, I could have done a
I could
little.
have done with like 50 more pages.
Yeah, everything happened pretty much like. But I feel like it's kind of like a sci-fi action book, so I don't think that that's a bad thing. Just that it is very fast-paced.
Yeah, I also think maybe the demographic of young kids, like to get them
Yeah.
hooked right away,
Mm-hmm.
you know, they picking it up because they know they see those good covers. They need to then be okay. Alien spaceship crash, like in the first couple
Right.
pages.
They don't have
The
the attention
plot-
span we do.
Yeah,
The plot is very Saturday morning kids cartoon, which
Mhm.
again, not a criticism, just especially since I love Saturday morning kids cartoons. But yeah, it's just like, oh, alien lands, gives kids superpowers to defeat alien invasion. Kids cartoon.
But there was also like a little bit of depth to it that I wasn't expecting. I was like,
Oh, yeah, it's very deep, I feel like there's some super dark undertones. Like
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
the morphing, every time they morphed and then struggled to like morph back, in the way that they described feeling in the morph and stuff, I'm like, these have to be drug allegories. It's like his
I didn't think
chameleon
about
form,
that.
his iguana form, bro's on speed, on acid or something. Like, especially
I
when
listened to the audiobook, and at that part, I was already listening to it on like 1.7
Yeah.
speed.
Oh,
And he
yeah.
started speeding up, talking. I was like, okay, wait, we got to slow it back down.
I really
because-
liked that part.
Oh,
Okay,
see, I didn't listen to I read the ebook for it, and now I kind of wish I had the audiobook.
bruh, the audiobook,
wish I
that
had the-
Andalite, like I'm sitting there and then he's like, he says, I know, or some shit like that. I fucking jumped. I'm like, I
I
did
was
not
shook.
expect his voice to drop so
Yeah.
suddenly. I was like, sir, why is this Andalite's voice so deep and velvety? I did not expect that.
I just want to address the comment here. I do remember actually reading that this was one of the second biggest series after Goosebumps. And I also wanted to say about the author K.A. Applegate co-wrote this with her husband, and I was shooketh when.
Oh.
Sorry, there's a fly in my apartment. Shooketh when I found out that K.A. Applegate is the same Catherine Applegate who was a Newbery Medal winner for the one and only Ivan that I read for Newbery Nostalgia. I was like, what? That's the same
Wow.
author who got the Newbery Medal wrote freaking Animorphs? Like, my mind was blown.
She has range.
Ivan was also pretty deep and heavy. So
Oh, I
can
cried
see
during that book, and
I
I
can see that.
rarely cry during books. So, yeah, I was really shocked to find that out, and that it was co-written from a husband and wife duo, which I thought was super cool.
Yeah.
So, the more we know. And Robin says, dude, the morphing plus leeches in the ear canal was low-key body horror. Oh, totally.
Mhm.
I have such a big fear of like bugs and things getting in my ears. So like when it got to that part where they're explaining how they work, I'm like, nope.
Oh, I was into the body horror aspects of this. I was like, this is great. Hey, Wallace. Did you read Animorphs as a kid? Let us know.
Bruh, for me, the like most gruesome part was really toward the beginning when they're describing like the execution of the Andalite prince dude.
Mhm.
Because it's like, not only was he chewed alive, pieces of him fell on the ground, and then the other aliens ate that. And I'm like, for why, Miss Applegate? For why?
It was a choice you made. But why?
I mean, it let you know right from the start that this is
I
not going to be
know!
an easy book to get through.
It was just like, so you're gonna have to handle some shit here. So here's the first one.
I really liked it. I like when like books for kids have those darker tones because I feel like today,
Yeah.
like books published for this age group are very sanitized.
Mhm.
And I know we talked about this also with like Cirque du Freak, like some of the aspects of like darker things, and I think Animorphs even takes it to a level further. I like it.
I feel
I
like
mean,
I feel like a lot of 90s books, especially targeted toward middle grade and YA, also just had a lot of like drug allegories in general, because like The Outsiders, well, it wasn't an allegory in that one. It's uh sorry, my brain rebooted, because like The Outsiders dealt with like gangs and all of that and stuff, and I'm wondering if that's like because those authors would have grown up in the 80s when like that was all very big in media culturally.
well, I know that she said her inspiration for the series was actually about like animals and teaching kids about animals, which what a weird outlet to do it.
I could
Sure.
see that. I could see where that would started, because we definitely get like a small lesson about all of the animals as when they shift into them and stuff. So I could see that for the animal scenes, because every time they shifted into a new animal or something, that's like, I loved those scenes because of how they wrote the shifting. And so yeah, I could definitely see how that was the starting point for
I
the
kind of want to
series.
switch to the morphing banner and just talk about the morphing. But does anybody have any other thoughts on plots and pacing before I do that?
No.
Crickets. Got it.
Plot good, pacing good.
Okay, I was like, I remembered they had to touch the animals to get to DNA. Like, I remembered that, or I knew that, I guess, just from the zeitgeist. But like the intricacies of how it worked, I was not prepared for. I didn't know that they took on like the behaviors of the animals, and I thought that was so cool. I was like so pleasantly surprised, like them fighting the urges of being like a dog or being a lizard. I was like, that's so cool.
I thought it was a really nice touch that, like, when they took on the DNA of an animal, they're not just becoming, oh, well, I am a golden retriever or something like that. No, they also take on the specific personality of the animal they touched. And I'm like,
Mhm.
that makes sense, because the way they explain it is they're taking it from the DNA, but
Mm-hmm.
she could have, like, still had it a blanket thing, but because she made it so specific, I thought that was a really nice touch.
Yeah,
I like
it's
that as well.
really different to like most things. Like if you see like animal transformation stuff, it's more just like, oh, I've seen this animal before, I know what it looks like, so I can turn into it. But this is like you turn into a very specific animal. It's
Yeah,
not just that kind of animal, and I'm like, that's really clever to like differentiate yourself from other kinds of things like this. I really
I
enjoyed that.
I totally agree. I thought it was going to be like you turn into like your self version of that animal, but that's not it at all. You turn into that animal's specific DNA pattern, which is cool.
When
One
he,
thing
like,
about it though, I was like, 2 hours is a very specific number. Why was it
yeah,
2
why
hours?
2 hours? And like, do they mark time the same way we do? Because like, what if an Andalite 2 hours was just 10 minutes? They would have been so fun. I
They've
mean,
been screwed.
luckily, it seems like the time was the same, but
And then I don't remember, like, what's the reset like on this? Can you
Yeah,
go 2 hours and then
be a
shift back
human
and
for
then shift
five
back again
minutes
and
and
have
then go
another two
back.
hours? Yeah.
but it also sounded
That's
like
what
how they
Tobias should
described
have
it,
tried in the cave.
like the shifting itself took a minute. Like it wasn't like an instantaneous shift. Like
Mm-hmm.
they
You
really
have to
went through
struggle
those
through it.
stages on the covers. Like,
I like how he described that it should hurt, but it didn't hurt, which I'm like, oh, this is some sort of magical numbing thing.
Anna says, it made it feel like they were expanding their collection of personal animals, which I loved as a kid. Same.
Makes me wonder, like, could you collect the DNA of, like, say, 2 different tigers, and then you can decide which one to turn into? Like,
That would be interesting.
That's super
What
interesting.
that?
I also,
Also,
wondered
why
about,
did no one? Sorry, go ahead.
I wondered about the age of the animals because, like the gorilla, silverback gorilla, is a very specific, like, mature gorilla. Because young silverbacks are not the same as like a regular silverback. So it's like, do they just become the age of that animal as well? Because, or are they
No,
their age?
I
That
would
I didn't understand.
I would assume not because of the way they explained the injury thing.
Yeah,
Like,
that's what I was also confused about.
Because they were like, well, the wing is broken, not the DNA. So like your DNA doesn't really change from the time you're born to the time you die. So I assume they just are the equivalent age of the kids. So like right
But
now,
like in animal years, like,
yeah, in animal. Well,
yeah, it's confusing.
so they'd be like a teenage version of, like, that life cycle?
maybe.
No one knows. Don't think too hard about it. Don't think too hard about
Well,
it.
Email
no,
K.A. Applegate right now.
Because Rachel turned into an elephant, but she didn't turn into like a baby elephant. She turned into a full-grown elephant.
Yeah, and elephants, don't they age like pretty slow?
Speaking of elephant Rachel, while we're on this topic, because this is what I was gonna say.
The elephant age. The elephant, the animal.
Do the injuries, like, do they morph with you? Like, didn't Rachel get burned? So does her human body have a burn?
Oh.
Yeah, they didn't address that she was burned at the end of the book, just that they had all made it out and that they were all alive.
It's a question for book 2, maybe.
Chris has like read most of the series. He's answering a couple things.
Yeah, because I had some questions, but I kept telling myself, like, you can't think too hard on it. Like, you just have to, like, take it for what it is, because if you try to unravel it too much,
it will fall apart.
You go back to your factory settings. I like that.
He says they make a copy of that animal at that point in time in their DNA. So I guess if they like took the DNA of a puppy, then they would be able to become a puppy.
Yeah.
And they took the DNA of a, which I guess she thought about that because they specifically get the DNA from a young gorilla, didn't they?
I don't remember.
I don't remember the specifics.
It was a new gorilla that came in.
I could not tell you. Yeah, I don't know. There's definitely some things about the morphing, because I've heard that it's also a little bit inconsistent throughout the books, or at least that's what I've heard. I don't know. I can't speak for it because I have only read this one. And I heard they changed some things, so I don't know if anybody read the reprint, the one with the green cover that I showed. I originally thought that was the UK cover, but apparently that was the 2011 reprint. Apparently they updated it and changed some things, so their inside of the text is not the same. What's different? I can't tell you.
That'd be interesting. I'll have to look that up.
So, but I also wondered, like, can they have unlimited animals, or do they have like any limitation on that? Because at first it seemed like the kids were like not touching as many animals. I was like, if I have animal abilities, like, I'm just gonna, like,
right, I would touch them all.
Yeah. And the fact that Cassie at first just got a horse, I was like, why aren't you getting like a bunch of things? Like I understand the boys just did their pets that they had at home, but like Cassie like lived on a farm, like
a wildlife, like, yeah, the ranch had been converted to like a wildlife
rehab center. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, why didn't no one want the rhinoceros?
I know, right? He like opened the door. I mean, granted, the rhino might have killed them, but I'm still like, rhino's firepower. It's less likely to kill you than the tiger, I think.
A rhino would be so useful though for like them fighting aliens. Like rhinos are like tanks. Their skin is so thick. Yeah, gotta catch them all. That's what I was thinking too.
I was thinking
They're-
more like the Ben 10 like Omnitrix thing. He only has a limited amount of.
Yeah, I was thinking also like video game slots.
Maybe they
Tobias
also
was
just
nursing
didn't know and were playing it safe.
a cat scratch after he morphed in book 1 but later books would have it so no scratch after he morphs back. Okay, so like the inconsistency. Okay. Do I have any other thoughts on morphing? I mean, I think it's pretty straightforward how the Andalite comes down and says like, "Hey, this is like our secret thing. Now you guys can have it too. This is how it works." And also like in his dying breath, he's like, "There's only a 2-hour time limit."
Yeah.
I wonder if they could have morphed into the Andalite. Missed opportunity.
Wait, hold on. Maybe I missed it, but how does the morphing work exactly? Like, is it an object that's given to them, or was it like a mental connection that the Andalite?
Didn't they
They,
touch
like,
something?
There was like a
touched
box
this-
that
Did he
they
touch?
touched.
Yeah, there was a box
Okay.
that they all touched, and the Andalite touched it, and then they had the morphing powers.
Oh, okay. I remember that part. Thank
See,
you.
I want to know more about this box because going back to when they get it, and then Visser 3 shows up, and the prince makes this whole big deal about how Visser 3 is the only. I don't know how to pronounce the bad alien names. I don't want to try. He's the only one that can morph
Yerk?
because he took over an Andalite. Like, can he not give this power to the other bad aliens? Like, does he not have a box like that? Like, I want to know more about this
I don't
box.
think he would, even if he could.
That's a good point.
I don't know. I'm sure they explore some of this stuff later on in the series.
I'm so excited to read more.
I always think
Me
when there's
too.
a book series with this many books, they have to just like use up every plot line that could be a possibility. Like, but I've heard some are very like episodic, and then some are just like, what's the word I'm looking for when they don't really matter to the overarching plot.
Like fluff pieces.
Yeah, fluff
filler.
pieces. Thank you. So, like one-off adventures, yeah, like that. Okay, we're flying through these.
I'm
banners.
excited to read the Choose Your Own Adventure version. It's like
Oh
a
yeah,
2-book spinoff.
I was
What?
so close
I
to
didn't
buying
know
the
that
graphic
either.
novels because they look so good.
I think it's all what's it called? Alternamorph? And it's 2 books. It's Choose Your Own Adventure.
Yeah, you can definitely. I mean, there's so much like also like Mars. You said like a bunch of fan stuff about Animorphs still going on. Like,
The Animorphs fandom on Tumblr is thriving.
yeah, it's that's why I was so excited to do this book. Do we want to discuss sci-fi tropes that were included in this children's version of a sci-fi?
I've lost every
I
single
have
sci-fi trope
suddenly
known to
forgot
man.
everything.
I mean, just general
Grape in my-
invasion trope. I mean, the book is called Animorphs: The Invasion.
Grape in my brains went sci-fi. What's sci-fi? We've never heard of it. Yeah, alien invasion.
The body snatching.
Body
Love
snatchers.
that.
Body snatching for sure.
Our brains are
Mhm.
synced up now.
I like that it's not
Kind of
unlimited with the body snatchers. Like they still have to take care of their regular
Yes.
bodies and go and like
Yes.
absorb the rays. Like I like that there's a limit to what they can do.
The inclusion of the Yerk pool
Yerk
was like, I
pool.
was like, that was so smart. Like,
I liked that that like once they got down there, like at first it's like, oh, it's under the school, and you're like, okay, well, of course it's under the school because it's a kid's book. But then they're like, oh man, no, this is a huge cavern that like goes half the town,
Mhm.
and I'm like, never mind, I apologize. Miss
same.
Applegate."
When I was reading, I was like, well, that's convenient. Like, oh, just kidding. Yeah, I think definitely the body snatching of like never knowing who is actually an alien added a lot of tension to the story for the kids. As well as I like the idea of sort of that you could see some of the other aliens that they had as like controllers.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
So like I don't know what the trope would be, like lackey aliens. I don't know, like
The henchman.
yeah, henchman alien,
also-
like alien hierarchy.
I think
Yeah.
another sci-fi trope is like, oh, what is it called? It's like when an entire race is homogenized. So it's like basically all of these aliens look identical and all of those aliens look identical.
Mm-hmm.
This is not necessarily a sci-fi trope, I don't think, but the fact that the Andalite alien was also a prince, I was like, of course he is.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Why wouldn't he
definitely a
just be a
sci-fi
When
trope.
I was looking up
regular
his
person?
name, because I was like, I'm not even going to attempt to spell that by myself. Apparently, Prince is just a military rank. So it's just like equivalent to our general, which I'm like, why not just use general then? Why
Okay, yeah, then why
confuse
not
me
choose
and
that
all
word?
the children?
And me too.
Versions. Why the Andalite had the cube with him? Ah,
So
okay.
I'll get back to it. I might honestly read book 2 today. I was putting it off because I didn't want to confuse myself before the
Okay.
stream,
I
but
have
this whole month I've been like, I have to read book 2.
But apparently
have the
script is down
TV
today.
series.
What's with that?
Oh, I don't have it on script.
Oh, see,
The
I
only reason I
had it on
don't
script.
feel bad about pirating these books is because K.A. Applegate herself has been like, yes, please pirate my books. I want everyone to read them.
No,
She had them all on her website at one point, and then her publisher
honestly,
was like, hello?
honestly, everything
Hello.
I read about her today, like she seemed really cool.
Your
Like-
publisher was like, ma'am.
No, she
ma'am."
seems like a really cool like author. And I loved the one and only Ivan. Like honestly, that made me cry. I yeah. Subverts rubber forehead alien.
Oh yeah. That's when all the aliens are basically humans but with a different
Ah, yeah. Yeah,
headpiece.
I liked the description of the Andalites as well, like that they have like a horse goat like body.
Weird centaur.
I was so
Yes.
confused when I was
Scorpion
reading it. I'm like,
mishmash.
blue deer with no mouth and 4 nostrils, and then I saw the picture. I'm like, no, that's exactly what you described. Never mind, I take back any criticism I had.
Yeah, exactly the same thought.
Yeah, I thought the descriptions were pretty well done for like a kid's book for sci-fi. Like, it just made me realize that I was in the direct Animorphs to the host pipeline. Oh,
Mm,
ugh,
you were a
feel that.
victim.
What other banners do we have? I think because I was kind of talking about it, the prose and writing style. I know Mars, you had some opinions.
Yeah, I wasn't super big on the whole like stream of consciousness from a 13-year-old boy's perspective, but then we did get the really funny line about my parents would kill me if they found out I went to the abandoned construction site. Anyway, we went to the abandoned construction site. So I literally burst out laughing when I got to that part. It was just hilarious to me.
I'm the opposite. I love stream of consciousness writing. That's one reason I love middle grade and YA so much, is because it's used there way more than an adult. And you get those moments and they're so good. Also, you can have such great foreshadowing like with Tobias, because from the very beginning when he introduces Tobias, he's like, yeah, Tobias was, well, I guess still is a really like weird kid. And I'm like, what you mean was? What you mean? Like, sir, what happened to your friend? Like, before they even met the Andalite, you're like given some idea that something is going to happen to Tobias, which like gives this tension. And then every time later and there's another time when he talks about looking into Tobias's human eyes, and he's like, something I can only do in my memory now. And you're like, is he dead or did he never turn back? What is going on, Jake? You can't just do this to me.
Yeah.
And like it keeps that tension up. And then that makes it when Tobias starts fighting back against having to turn back human. And every time you're like, oh my God, is this the time? Is this the time he stays a hawk? And so I feel like it makes it to where that at the end of the book, when he's in Hawk permanently, not by his own volition, but because he was forced to be to like survive, that's just like, oh, one, subverted my expectations, and two, bruh, that's
I feel like this book is so deceptively simple. Like you think about it and you're like, oh, it's just some kid's book about a bunch of children that turn into animals and fight aliens. But like when you actually read it and you like pay attention to the word choice and like that kind of stuff, you realize no, this is actually a very masterful writer that put this together and like took the time and care to make this a well-written book, and I just thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely, I think a lot of maybe similar series or similar things that this gets compared to, people would think it's like, oh, maybe just like a soulish cash grab big series. But there was definitely plot and things going on in there. This fly, damn it.
And character development. I wasn't in
Character
love with the
development.
prose, but I really liked how it like lended itself to the character, like revealing this character information and then, you know, showing
I
us
also,
along the way how they're changing.
same. I like that it didn't like spoon feed us the characters. Like sometimes it's like gives like, you know how sometimes like children's books will really like stop, give like a whole description of the character, like a little bit about their backstory, and this didn't really do that. Actually, there was times when I was like, I didn't know like what the characters physically looked like because Jake didn't take time to tell me. So I was like, okay. But yeah,
Except
throughout
he
the
did
text,
take the time to tell us that his cousin was hot, so that was a little weird to me.
pretty
Okay, that
all the
did
time.
bother me, but then in the next paragraph, when he's like, but she's nothing compared to this girl that I've got a huge crush on, I'm like, okay, now I understand why you were talking about that. Still a little bit weird, but I understand.
no, I
Yeah.
think it
feel
was
like
well done.
I think it's fair when you're like, yeah, my cousin's pretty. She's my cousin, but I know people think she's pretty. And then like later when he's like, yeah, something about her pretty face, and I'm like, no, that's how cousins who have a close bond talk. Like,
You know, first page
he
I was like,
did.
oh, weird.
It was interesting to me that like he started out giving everyone a tagline, and then like it that was just kind of like a starting point for everything to build off of. Though I felt bad about his tagline for Tobias. Tobias from the get-go is set up to just be the one you feel bad for.
Poor
Because
child.
he's like, Marco, usually funny, occasionally annoying best friend. And it's like, yeah, that's how a kid would describe their best friend. Rachel, smart, pretty, confident cousin. Which I love that he pointed out that she was smart and confident. And then Cassie is like, who everyone knew liked animals more than she liked most people. And I'm like, this is a tidbit. Doesn't really tell me anything else about her, but all right. And then with Tobias, he's like, oh yeah, like we saved Tobias from bullies. And ever since then, he figured we were friends. And I'm like, do you not think you're friends?
I liked how the characters were introduced because sometimes
So,
like with a big cast I get really intimidated.
yeah.
But I think that this was balanced really well, that I
Mhm.
think even like for kids it was easy to keep up with all
I
of
feel
them.
like it's a good size
Yes.
cast because you have enough characters that they're all unique without like they have things in common obviously, but they all also have one area where they really shine. Like Jake is really stepping up and being the leader, and then you have I'm forgetting everyone's names now, but like they each have their own role within the group without it like feeling like there's so many of them.
I remember the POV in the kids' POV, but I forgot that they were 13 and they sure acted it. I think it changes as their secret war progresses, but I feel it was easier to digest for 11-year-old me. Yeah, I'm definitely curious of the people in the comments who read this as a kid, like some of how it was, because I can imagine that I would have been also just obsessed with this. I wish I would have read it. Like I said, I had them in my house. Like I remember physically holding the books. So
I wanted to read them, but my library never had book one.
I've said this before on other Nostalgia Train streams. I think there was a lot of sibling rivalry with me and my brother. So it's like those are their books. Like I'm not into those. Like, so maybe that's what happened. I don't remember. I know I liked the covers, or again, maybe I just assumed I'd read them.
Because you flip through the little corner.
Yeah, in the way Child's Mind works. I liked the prose. I don't mind that. You know, middle school boy writing voice.
I will say, I know it came first, but like because I read Percy Jackson first, I like had very strong Percy Jackson association with like the way it was done, and that they both follow the like at the very beginning, it's like, hi, I'm telling you this like super important secret thing, and I can't like give you actual details and stuff because like we could be captured and stuff. And I'm like, I like book series that do that, like right out the gate, like Animorphs, Percy Jackson, King Chronicles, and Series of Unfortunate Events all do that, where the narrator is trying to convince you that it's like it's this very important secret that you're being let in on. And I think that like as a kid, I definitely would have eaten that up.
I also just think that some of the concepts were kind of advanced, but it was always explained in a way that even as an adult reader, it didn't feel too dumbed down. I don't know. It was such a good balance for me of like clarity and complexity, at least for my taste.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree.
Anna's saying, I was a very type A kid, so if my library didn't have the next number, it would crush me, and I would have to wait for the other kids in my town who read Animorphs to return at tiny town props.
I feel that, Anna. My daughter's going through that with this Mermaid Tale series she's reading. There must be a kid who is just slightly ahead of her, because every time we go to the library, the one volume she needs is out, and we got to put a hold on it.
Okay, as reading book 1, I hear Percy Jackson's narrator as Jake.
Very similar style.
I think of like Percy as a character, though, maybe a little bit more arrogant than Jake, in my opinion.
Oh, definitely. Percy is far more full of himself. Jake has a lot more insecurities, which is
could never read out of order. See, I don't mind like in really long running series, maybe reading 1 or 2 out of order. Maybe I'm weird.
No, I'm with you there. It's like there's so many. They're gonna give you a little recap, anyway.
Exactly, you'll catch up with it. I had another banner, which is everybody's favorite banner. Or maybe it's just my favorite themes, symbols, and motifs.
Y'all already know. Morphing and drugs. And if that was not done on purpose, I don't know. Because it's just like, or not even drugs specifically, but addiction. Because, like I said, they'd like dip into it and then they would lose themselves and they would have to re-anchor. And then like when Jake realized his brother really was a controller, and then like he let Duke take over, and he was like, I could just lose myself. And then he like goes back and he's like, man, I didn't want to turn back human. I could see why Tobias would like want to stay as a hawk and why he would want to lose himself. And I'm like, sure sounds like a druggie talking, Jake. Do we need to get you in there?
Like now that you say it, obviously I can see that. But like when you first brought it up, I was like, what? I didn't get that at all. I mean, I didn't think. Okay, what, Mars?
I was gonna say, you bringing up the brother being controller just made me realize something. At the beginning of the thing when they're in the construction site and Jake says he recognized a voice, I, in that moment, thought it was going to be the brother. And so, because he had already mentioned having an older brother, I'm like, oh, obviously that's him. But later on, he seems like surprised when Marco brings up the fact that his brother is probably a controller, and then the voice ends up being the like vice principal or whoever it ended up being. That I thought was a really good bait and switch to me, because you think like, oh, obviously it's going to be the brother, but then it's not the voice that he recognized, but then the brother is one anyway. I didn't make that connection until now, but I did really like that moment.
Yeah, that's a
Also, I
good
was like,
point.
how are you
I thought
not
it was
seeing
gonna
this?
be his
Your brother's
dad or
definitely.
something. Oh, he was in serious denial about it.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, no.
Ignoring all the
Marco's
red
like,
flags.
bro, I love you, but
Oh, like the sharing, that was like so culty.
right?
It is called
I
the
was
sharing.
like, this is a
Like,
cult.
Yeah, they didn't even try to be like subtle about it.
Marco's like, man, this has cult vibes. I'm like, thank you, my sir.
What's the reason? This is really random, but I
There's-
like that his parents were a writer and a doctor. I was like, oops, slay.
Yeah, and it was pretty convenient that Cassie's mom, or both her parents, or just her mom, was like a veterinarian.
Mhm.
Her mom. I don't remember what her dad did.
I don't remember what her dad did either, but it was like super
He's
convenient.
unimportant.
So, and I was happy to see it. It helps that Animorphs were written where you could just jump in. I think it helps. That there's an overarching plot, but it's like Saturday cartoon vibes. Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think of any other themes, symbols, or motifs. I mean, I could try to throw some out there, but I might be reaching.
Yeah, I feel like
Reach,
this
I
is the
wanna
kind
know.
of topic you can't really discuss on the first book of such a long series.
Yeah.
It's the kind of
It was
thing
so
that's really going to
short.
develop as it goes on.
I was gonna say, like, do you
Like,
think the different morphs they acquired, like, say something about their personalities?
Oh.
Is that reaching?
Well, with
No,
Cassie
not at
and
all.
Tobias, definitely, because like
Mhm.
Tobias turned into his cat, but like that was just to test it out. But the form that he was like he loved so much was the bird, which allowed him to be free. And
Yeah.
he was like, he's from a broken, like, bruh, few homes get more broken than Tobias's home. Because that's what I was trying to figure out how I feel like there's a theme with family, but I'm not sure. Oh, it's like the kids with family seem to have a stronger anchor to their human side. And then like there's Tobias, who's the direct like opposite, because like his parents are gone or dead. He goes between living with his aunt and living with his uncle, neither of which seem to want him, and he just longed like for that freedom and that peace and everything that being the bird gives him. And then there's Jake, who doesn't like really lose himself for very long, or when he does lose himself, it freaks him out, except when he realized Tom's a controller, which that's a break from his strongest family tie. And Marco, who's just like resistant to all of it, like in general, is for his dad. He's like existing at this point for his dad.
Mm-hmm.
And like the only times that he goes against keeping himself safe for his dad is because he wants to protect Jake and he wants to be there for Jake, whom arguably is like a brotherly bond. So, and then Cassie, who seems to like, we don't get a lot,
No.
but
It
she
seems like
doesn't
in book
seem
one,
super
she's more
close.
like just the convenience character to have the tie with the zoo and the farm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I hope she gets more of an arc though, because I think she could be really interesting, especially like talking about how like she likes animals more than people.
She seems like the like comfortable, but there's probably parental neglect kid, which she also picks an animal that symbolizes freedom, which is a horse. So, and we don't really know Rachel. She's just
Shut up the
she's ready.
elephant. How
She's
did you
ready
make
to
that?
turn into anything. I meant Rachel and family. As far as like animal though, Rachel, yeah, we see her turn into an elephant, which is big, powerful, and can just bulldoze things. And I'm like, that's Rachel.
Yeah. Why not?
That was a very good point, Violet. Wasn't reaching at all.
I think their animal choices are very reflective of their personalities, but this happens later on. Yeah, I'm excited like throughout the series to see what they all acquire. Like obviously I've seen several of the book covers.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very interesting, which leads me to my last and final banner, but we can obviously I put the spoilers banner down because it is question. What animals would you like to be able to morph into? Without a question mark at the end, because
Well, you put question at the beginning. You don't need the question mark. You're fine.
thanks.
I am.
I think like a cheetah or something.
Ooh.
No, don't do cheetahs.
Something
They're very
fast.
bad at existing.
Oh well, I'm also bad at existing, so that tracks like 1,000%.
Well, you guys, I think for our rules, we can have like a slot of 3 animals. That sounds fair, right?
Okay.
Okay.
Like I love cheetahs. They're my favorite cat, but this is why I know they're very bad at existing. Cheetahs in captivity require a golden retriever. Well, usually require a golden retriever support animal.
Why do you think Grape would be in
Also
captivity?
require a support animal. So I'm gonna stick with cheetah. I've got the cheetahs back. I say cheetah. Maybe some kind of bird. I like blue jays. I think they're cute.
I'm gonna pick horse
And
and something in the water in case I ever fall off a boat.
I would steer clear of animals that are often like game, like are hunted.
Yeah. That's what I'm trying to think of. I'm like, what will not get me murderized? I'll be a giant squid. Don't ask me how I'm gonna get a hold of giant squid DNA. That's what I'm gonna be.
Oh yeah, I forgot we have to get a hold of the DNA.
We're gonna pretend getting a hold of the DNA is not a problem.
We can.
I feel like quite a few like octopus
rehab center.
I feel like quite a few like octopus and squids have escaped from their cages, so I feel like it's not that hard. The bitches are smart.
I could go for an octopus. An octopus, I think, would be pretty fun. Keep my mental faculties while still getting to do some.
Oh yeah, shoot! I forgot. We also take the mental faculties of the animal. Well, I think my first choice would be an orca, even though it's not that practical.
Well,
but they are hella
giant squids. So.
Yeah, but they're hella smart, and I wouldn't then be scared in the ocean because then I know nobody could mess with me.
Mm-hmm. Good reason.
Fox, I don't want to be a hippo. I know hippopotamus means water horse, but I don't want to be a hippo. Although they are pretty badass.
Paula says whale because I'm scared of the ocean. Oh, that's similar to what I said. And as a whale, you could explore the ocean without too many worries. Oh, Wallace, be an orca with me. You can have a pod.
We can have a pod.
Only have to worry about humans usually, yeah. Hannah says bird, dolphin, and spoiled house cat. I also thought about a house cat.
Mm-hmm.
See, I thought about a cat, but I would not want to be a house cat because then like people would be around me and try and pet me and stuff, and I don't know how I feel about that. But I also wouldn't want to be a cat just like out in the wild because that doesn't sound fun to me. Like that sounds like too much effort.
Well, I would want one animal that's like a real good spy that can sneak around. Obviously, I considered a rat, but
small.
people are scared of rats. And I think cats, like people are used to like stray cats and feral cats all around. So it wouldn't draw attention like if people also just saw you walking down the street.
That's a good point.
So.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of my practical animal now. I may just be a basic bitch and have like horse, cat, and then colossal squid. Yep, that's my trifecta. Colossal squid.
I need to think of
nothing fucks with a colossal squid. Nothing. I would
Best of luck getting the DNA.
Hey, like I said, we're pretending that we can.
I think for my last one, I'd be a frog. I think they're cute.
Oh, you're so smart, Grape.
Yes.
But I have a
What's that?
question. Can you get DNA from dead things? Or does it have to be
Very good
alive?
question.
Well, Chris said that it's like from
Chris,
that
chime
moment
in.
in time. So would we just morph into something dead?
Oh,
Just
okay.
be a
Sorry, maybe that doesn't work.
skeleton.
But like in real life, scientists when they take DNA, like you can. What I don't know. Can they do that?
Sperm whales eat, but do they eat colossal squids? I'm going for a specific one.
I think my final three are octopus, some sort of owl, and a giraffe.
Also, I can just
Ooh.
avoid sperm whales. I'll just not be in their part of the ocean, hopefully.
Yeah.
Why giraffe?
Yeah.
I really like giraffes. They're just kind of one of my favorite animals, and I feel like they would give me the opportunity to run if I had to. Like, if I needed to break out of somewhere and go fast.
That's good.
I
mean,
think
I
that'd be
think
the worst fighting animal. You're just like,
But if you needed to reach something real tall, can they also be insects? I mean, I wouldn't want to. I'm just wondering.
I don't see why not. I mean, they're animals.
yeah.
Like a bird. I mean, I understand the practicality. I just am not really drawn to birds.
Anna, you would be able to fly, but
Oopsie.
like, what about your
Never mind, never mind.
luggage?
I never have to buy airplane tickets home.
Mhm.
Like you'd have to
We'll just show up to
You'd have to
Thanksgiving
be a-
naked.
you'd have to be a bird big enough that you could like pack a little bag and carry it with you.
Just
Yeah,
mail
that's
your
true.
luggage ahead.
I guess you would have to do that, wouldn't you? Oh wait, they
What does
can
that
be
say?
insects.
I know they said cow assery. I was like, what?
Cassowary. They're
Get the
like
plot in
some
an early book.
badass birds.
Yeah, I don't think I could get on the bird train. I don't know what my third animal would be. Or a cat and orca. That's all I got so far.
Oh, with the rat. People can only be scared if they see you.
But I mean, a rat isn't that useful. I mean, at least I could travel by subway in New York City.
Steal someone's pizza and no one will bat an eye.
But other than that, I don't know how useful a rat would be. And also, rats are prey for.
That's fair.
I'll have to think on that one. I'll let you all know in the Discord. And also, we can. Yeah, other people can chime in. Does anybody have any other thoughts on Animorphs? Are you guys planning on continuing in the series? Favorite
Yes.
characters, best moments, anything like that?
My library has up to volume 7 of the audiobook. So until at that point, I'll have to figure out what to do. But until then, my library and
I will continue reading. Favorite character? Marco. He was just so funny.
100%.
Favorite moments? The end. Oh my god. I knew it was happening. I knew he was gonna stay a bird, but I still cried anyway. There were tears in my eyes.
I was like, when I got to the ending, in my notes, let's see, I said, okay, yeah, the Animorphs get out alive, but they only got one human out. And I'm like, and Cassie may or may not have murdered that policeman. I'm like, that's the way to end the first novel. And then I'm like,
Fair, I forgot about that.
I forgot about
and
that
then I'm
too.
like, yeah, I was like, yeah, that's the way to end the first novel. And then I'm like, oh, Tobias is a hawk forever. Okay, that's the way to end the first novel. Like, oh, my heart. I also very early on when they were like talking about Tom, and I'm like, oh no, is this a sibling pair? Is Tom gonna have to die? How dare you already get me with this sibling shit? Ah, already playing my strings.
Yeah, I definitely thought he was gonna die in the underground thingy. But then when he came home, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm glad that like the slugs can come out and the people can be returned, because I'm like, this is going to be so much more depressing if that is not the case. Also, Rachel, I just get really good vibes from her. I know I'm gonna love her once she gets more screen time. She
That's
just
how I
turned
feel
into
about Cassie. I feel like Cassie might be my favorite. I'm just so excited to see where she goes in the series.
I think I have to say my favorite is Tobias. I'm just a sucker for a character who suffers a little bit.
bad
Yeah,
boy.
he kind of has that like weirdo outcast archetype, which I'm always here for.
I did like the little interactions between him and Rachel. I was like, was there a brewing romance? Does he ever turn back from a hawk?
Oh, yeah.
Many questions.
I need to know. I need to also know what animals they acquire, not require. That doesn't make sense. I think my favorite bits in the book were actually like just some of the physical descriptions of the transformations. I thought were just. I really enjoyed that weird body horror.
Oh my god, when he turns into the lizard and then he loses his tail.
That's my tail. This is a part of me. It's
Oh,
in there. Wiggling.
yeah,
Look
those
at
were
the
my
line.
favorite bits, and like seeing the personality changes, I was like having a blast reading that. So, end of the year, love to see your tier ranking of all the book club books so far this year. Okay, can do. I thought you were going to say all the Animorphs books, but all the book club books.
That's a tall order.
I mean, the amount of books that like I would have DNF'd if it wasn't for the book club is too high. Oh my god, please keep reading for Tobias.
I'm so excited. I'm becoming an Animorphs kid in my mid-20s. I feel like that's only right for me.
Yeah. I'm glad I could convince all of you to read it with me. And
You needed no convincing. I need no convincing.
You said Animorphs and we were like, yes.
But also they're so freaking short. Like, they're really quick reads. And they pack a punch. Like when we talked about the plot and pacing, like it was pretty fast paced.
When I finished the first one, I was like, okay, I'm ready to read the second one. Then I was like, no, I don't want to jump into another one and like get plot points confused or something.
No, I definitely had a hole like in my reading that I finished all the series of unfortunate events. So like having like another small episodic series to read is great for me.
This one YouTuber, Pages with Paige, she just finished reading the Animorphs. She's been reading them for the past year, reading like 4 or 5 a month, and she just finished it in I think May. And so I've been watching her like talk about them for the past year. And so when you brought it up for the book club, I'm like, I'm ready.
Ready. Okay, good. Then I'm hoping that we can keep a conversation going in the Discord and maybe encourage some people to join in because, like I said, they are quite short and easy to read. Yeah. Also, if I could track down some clips from the TV show, I'd be so interested to see that too. That has to exist on YouTube somewhere. Does anybody have any closing thoughts or self-promo before we go?
I don't think so.
Like I said, I'm going to be on Mars's channel on Tuesday, 3 Nuts on Monday. I might be on Michael's channel tomorrow doing a book club discussion, or book discussion, not a book club.
You pointed at me and I was like, oh, you're going to be on the Troublemakers channel?
Did I point at you? Oh, I meant to point at... I don't know what I'm doing.
I'm like, oh, you're always welcome.
No, I've been buddy reading Jane Eyre with Michael and Heather and Phoebe, so we're going to have a impromptu discussion. So,
fun.
My very, very varied reading tastes.
Get you a girl who can do both.
Oh, I wanted to do what you do last year, Jane Austen July. I wanted to do that this year. Thanks for reminding me about that.
Yeah. No, nobody else has anything to promote? Are you guys doing Camp Nano?
That's to be determined.
next month I will be hosting my quarterly party and my 4th flash fiction free for all, which will be fun. That's where me and 3 co-hosts write a flash fiction on screen in I think it's 50 minutes. It's either 50 or 60 minutes. It's 2 different sprints. And the prompt is made by my friend Fox. So I have no idea what the prompts are or anything. Chat gets to vote on it. So like our fate is put up to chat. And then we put up we let chat read the flash fictions and then they vote on which one they like the best. And it's a good time.
That's fun.
So I'm very excited about it.
I love some flash fiction. I had something else to say. Oh, Mars, you have a Ko-fi. You bet you always forget the promo.
I have a Ko-fi page where I do writing updates on my various projects, so I post about that several times a month. I also offer editing services, and I have memberships over there where I have perks like exclusive vlogs and streams, as well as access to my serial fiction. Right now, I'm putting out a paranormal romance, and it's a good time. Just posted the 10th episode of that today, which is halfway through the first season. So we are trucking along.
Whoop, whoop. The Nostalgia Train will be taking July off for Camp Nano because we never have book club discussions or book club picks for Nano months. But we will be back in August with Howl's Moving Castle with our co-conductor Michael C.B. Chen. So come on board for that one as well if that sounds interesting to you. And then I will also get the schedule for the rest of the year up at some point. Right now I have only planned till August. So stay tuned, join the Discord server, it's down in the description. And again, thank you to Devesha as my co-conductor, and thank you to Sam and Mars for coming along for this. And bye.
Thanks for letting me ride shotgun.